Yeah.
We love highlighting women entrepreneurs on our show, and maybe that has inspired you to think about being your own boss.
Yeah, but what if you have no idea how to start or even come up with an idea for your business? So that's where our next guest comes in.
Meet Victoria Jenn Rodriguez, a Latina business consultant who helps guide professional women into entrepreneurship. She encourages people to lean into their culture and use that as their competitive edge.
It's only appropriate that now she is taking her skills and turning them into a podcast. It's called Banking on Cultura.
Don't be thirsty. Mija, drink some water.
Yeah.
Don't be thirsty because it might work against you than for you.
Yeah.
And even though you're struggling to make a check, understand that if you go in and you put in a rate that's lower than what's at the market or that's lower than what these companies are used to seeing, of course, their business, they're going to go with the lower offer because they want to save money just like you would in your business. But what you do is you bring the overall market value down.
Yeah.
Don't be thirsty.
Don't be thirsty. I can get behind that.
Victoria,
quench your
Jenn,
thirst.
It's so great to meet you in real life.
Thank
for
you.
joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
So, I'm still thinking about thirsty.
I know.
I am actually quite
Don't be
thirsty.
thirsty, Mija. I love it.
You started in the corporate world.
I did.
And then you transitioned into entrepreneurship. Tell us about that.
Sure. So I was in corporate for about 15 years. Started on Wall Street, then transitioned to consumer product goods. And after 15 years, my company wanted to relocate me to Tampa, Florida. And I know you were just meeting me, but I'm more of a Miami girl. No shade to Tampa.
Aren't we all?
And so I gracefully bowed out, tried to interview a number of times, wasn't able to close the deal. And I'm like, what's going on? So I took it as a sign from God to just bet on myself and do my own thing. 7 years later, still in the green, thank goodness. And here we are.
We talk about this all the time. If it's not out there for you,
Go make it yourself. I
Yes.
love that. Now, you said that women can use their culture as a competitive advantage. What exactly do you mean like that? How and what does that look like?
Absolutely. So each of our cultures are unique in terms of what adds value to our community. And so thinking about those things. So for Latinas, as an example, we are super resilient. We're family oriented. We love to entertain. We're very welcoming. So transitioning that to your business, which allows you to be more of an empathetic leader, right? And also those cultural insights allows you to remain competitive because our consumer base is so diverse now.
Sure.
So whether you're a business owner or you're in the workforce, thinking about those cultural influences that we were told to not bring to the forefront, bring them out because it'll allow you to stand out and create a competitive edge over the competition.
we were talking about this in the meeting that, obviously my culture is I'm Puerto Rican, I'm from the Bronx. That's all, I'm more than the sum of my parts, but I'm thinking about if you're not Latino or Latina, what part of your culture would you suggest those women lean into?
Absolutely. Some cultures are more analytical than others because of the way they were raised, or they were raised to pay attention to detail, or they were raised to really hone in on their studies and understand all the data before they speak.
Yeah.
So all of these different things that make our cultures unique is what you want to identify and bring those to the forefront instead of toning them down, which we've been taught to do, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a little bit of a soul-searching process
Absolutely.
before you are going to launch into this venture.
Absolutely.
Which, is always, it never hurt nobody. It's
Never hurt
always
nobody.
probably good for you no matter what you're
Or to make it
pursuing.
easy, just be yourself.
Just be
Right.
yourself.
Everybody else is taken. Exactly.
I love
Just
it.
be yourself.
I love it. This has definitely got my wheels spinning
I can
here.
tell.
I'm taking it all in. But so many people dream of being an entrepreneur, right? Being their own boss. For some people, they have an idea. Some people are like, well, I know I don't want to work for the man, or I don't want to be in corporate America climbing that 9-to-5 ladder. So where do you start? How do you break that down for somebody to start at the very beginning, before an idea? How are they coming up with this idea for business in the first place?
Sure. So the first two things I want people to keep in mind is people pay top dollar for two things. One, convenience, right? If you think about all those Uber fees
Oh my God.
you're willing to pay, right?
Oh my God.
To not have to go outside.
Somebody
so
to
they're
make my
willing to pay
coffee
for
for me.
convenience, and they're willing to pay for solutions to their problems, right? And they're often more likely than not willing to pay a premium if you're able to solve their problem fast and make their lives more convenient. So think about how you can create something around those two foundational elements, right? Then the second thing you want to think about is, what are you good at? What is your skill set? And if you're unsure, what do people say that you're good at, right? And it can be anything. It could be, maybe you're good at resume writing. Maybe you're good at makeup. Whatever it is, right? Figure it out. What are those transferable skill sets that you can actually monetize outside of corporate America, right? because you can't.
Right.
So think about those things. And then thirdly, you want to do some research and figure out what's going on in the market, whether it's saturated or not, so that you can position yourself and create a brand that separates you, right? You want to stand out, right? Stop trying to fit in. Stand out.
Yeah.
Because if
Hear,
people
hear.
don't know you exist or what problems you're able to solve, they can't pay you.
That's right. You know, we've had a lot of entrepreneurs on the show, you know, where we consistently talk about the side hustle. Knowing when you don't know what you know.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Because you could get to a certain point where you're like, I know that my skill set is I'm a good public speaker, and I know I want to reach out to these people, and then you hit a roadblock. Some folks, I feel like, I don't want to share this idea because she's going to take it and then she's going to do it better than me. I always say there's room for all of us.
Right.
But where do you stand on that? And then how do you find those people that help you come to the next level? I know, listen to your podcast. It's step one.
Well, yes, obviously, tune into Banking on Cultura, but also I teach my students inside the Dare to Leap Academy, which is my on-learning platform where I teach women how to start and scale businesses. We focus on mindset because that's actually a scarcity mindset, right? Where that's coming from.
Yeah.
So really doubling down and figuring out why you think that way and why you believe that somebody's going to take your idea and do it better than
Right.
you.
Again,
right?
the journey to yourself.
The journey
your soul
to yourself.
searching.
But there are resources out there. You just have to
Yes.
find them and be open to them.
And also, don't be afraid to invest in yourself and your development, right?
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That is an investment twofold. Now, talk to us a little bit about the podcast, Banking on Cultura, and
How thirsty or not thirsty.
exactly. who do we have on? What can we expect to see, to learn, to feel, all that good stuff?
Sure. So Banking on Cultura was born because, you know, this year I turned 40. And, you know, you do soul searching when you turn 40, right?
You're still so such a 49.
And so I
know.
got a sign from God to double down on my community and really bring my resources to the table. And so Banking on Cultura focuses on the vibrancy and complexity of Latino culture, entrepreneurship, and of course, all the bonchincha in between, which means
Yes.
gossip, right?
Oh, she knows.
You gotta keep
I
it
know bonchincha.
entertaining, right?
She's
I am an
Honorican. She's my
Honorican.
Honorican.
Oh, I love that. Yes, we have a lot of those.
Yeah.
And so really the whole premise is to mobilize Latinos to embrace their Latinidad, right? Use their culture as a competitive advantage so that they can break generational curses to build generational wealth, because there are a lot of mindset blocks, right?
Yeah.
That have been bestowed upon us. And so Banking on Cultura is there to show you that the more you tap into your authenticity, the more you tap into your magic, your aura, your essence, what makes you you, the more
Right.
successful you will be.
And you bring all that wisdom and experience from being at the height of the
15
culture,
years,
right,
yeah.
of corporate America, and
Right.
then being like, you know what, this isn't for me anymore.
Absolutely. I
good
mean, and
for
you're
you.
able to do both. There's no shade in whatever path you choose. Just make sure you're happy and making money.
That is very important. You got to have that fulfillment.
That's right. Victoria, Jen, thank you so much.
It was so
Thank
nice
you so
to
much for
chat.
having me. It was a pleasure.
Oh, we love